God comforted Moses, telling him there would be only one more plague, after which Pharaoh would let them go. He instructed Moses that the people should ask the Egyptians for gold and silver, because the Hebrews had favor with them. Royanet and Sakar reclined on cushions with Sakar's mother Rebekah in their home. Her husband Asher slept in the next room. "There's no need to keep making those wretched bricks now that the Egyptians are doing so badly. But Sakar, will you please go back and ask for gold and silver?" "They'll kill me if I go there," answered Sakar. "But now we have favor. They are treating Moses like a god, even bowing down to him." Sakar was brave, but she didn't want to see Kosei again, as much as Royanet would not wish to. She sat silently. Rebekah pushed up one of her sleeves to reveal scars from an Egyptian whip. Sakar knitted her brows together in sympathy. "Oh, Mum," she said, and coming closer, rested her head on her mother's shoulder. "We're all afraid, Sakar, but also hopeful." "I'll go," said Royanet. "Kosei will be bathing in the Nile at a certain time." His mother was reasonable. "What if we all go?" suggested Sakar. "You two go," said Rebekah, who was avoiding all contact with Egyptians. "What about Miriam or Aaron?" asked Sakar. "They're your neighbours." "Aaron and his family are all busy organising the people. But that's a good idea. Take some of the neighbours and you can go to lots of the Egyptians. We are leaving here forever." "So we aren't really going to serve the Lord and then come back?" asked Sakar. "Shh," said Rebekah. Moses stood outside his tent looking into the night sky. The moon was close to full and cast its light over Goshen as it neared the zenith. Tzipporah couldn't sleep, though the children were breathing peacefully, tummies full of roast lamb. Anticipation like electricity was throughout Goshen, and almost no one was asleep. Moses had smeared lamb's blood around the opening to the tent. He re-entered. "Try to sleep," he whispered to Tzipporah. But she sat up. "When will it happen?" "The Lord said at about midnight he would slay the firstborn throughout Egypt. The moon is high now. Don't worry, the blood of the lamb on the tent will protect Goshen." "I can feel death coming. Close the tent, Moses." They both went to the opening, but then stopped. "I don't dare go out now," said Moses, looking at the moon. Tzipporah's eyes widened. "Then come away," she said, pulling at his arm. One of the children rolled over. Tzipporah started. "Lie down," said Moses. "I think it's beginning." "Oh!" said Tzipporah and covered her mouth with her hand. Moses guided her to sit down, and he held her. "Only believe," he whispered, rubbing her arm. Pharaoh's luxurious bed couldn't lull him to sleep this night, after Moses had threatened him with the death of all firstborn. No sounds reached Pharaoh's ears that might indicate a death. Then the servant Ammon appeared in his doorway with a torch. "The moon has passed its peak, Pharaoh." A deep dread suddenly took hold of Pharaoh. He threw back his covers and ran to his son's chamber, and Ammon followed. "Son?" His young son appeared to be sleeping, facing the wall. But when Pharaoh turned him onto his back, he saw that the boy was not breathing. Ammon turned pale. Rage, fear, and grief filled Pharaoh's heart so overwhelmingly he was unable to react, except to stroke his son's cheek. Then a slow growl began to emerge from his mouth, ending in an animal-like roar. His cries were joined by all Egypt, as all discovered their firstborn children were no more. Throughout the Nile Delta, the Hebrews were either awake or waking to the cries of the Egyptians. Moses headed for Aaron's house. The elders now acted on Moses' earlier instructions. By torchlight, they entered Joseph's pyramid tomb in the palace compound. The pyramid's antechamber housed an impressive 12-foot statue of Joseph. It was with difficulty that the tomb was opened. Reverently, the bones of Joseph were removed to be taken to Canaan for burial, which had been Joseph's wish. He had also foretold that if his remains went with them, that God would be with them on their journey. 2 soldiers arrived at Aaron's house. "Aaron and Moses are required by Pharaoh," one of them said. Moses couldn't help smiling at his brother. This is the last time. They left with the soldiers. Much weeping could be heard within the palace. Pharaoh spoke with them in his throne room. His face was dark and made eerie by the light of torches. A moment of silence passed while Pharaoh looked into Moses' eyes. It seemed to Moses that Pharaoh would suddenly command the guards to slay him. He began to mentally prepare to defend himself. But then Pharaoh spoke. "Take the Hebrews out from among us. Go and serve your God as you have said. Take your flocks and herds, and bless me also," he demanded. "But I expect your return in 1 week. 3 days out, 1 day's feast, and 3 days return." Moses thanked him. Then he prayed aloud, "God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, let your peace and comfort rest upon Pharaoh and his household." There was an uncomfortable silence, as he could not bring himself to speak a further blessing. Aaron said, "Amen." Pharaoh was disgusted. He stood, turned on his heel, and left the room. Aaron and Moses went to the elders and began to spread the news.